Thank you so much for being here today as we highlight emerging artists.
Thanks for having me.
So let's get started. I would love to just start off by hearing some background on you, where you're from, where you're currently residing.
Okay. Well, I was born in a very small town in rural Louisiana. There are about 100 people that live there right now.
Okay.
And I lived there until I was like 15. So I'm a baby of the South. And 15, my family moved to Orlando, Florida, the booming metropolis. And yeah, I guess, this is kind of like my personal history, but it really has shaped my relationship with music. When I lived in Louisiana when I was young, we went to church every week, and that's kind of how I was introduced to like music, not in the recorded sense, but in the sense of, being in a room full of like hundreds of people all singing together. And I would say that was a really cool experience to have, to just kind of feel like the power of music. I mean, I'm sure everybody's been to church at some point and, felt that kind of, whew, man, like everybody's just on the same page and there's something going on in here, whatever. And yeah, I kind of just discovered that I love to sing. My mom played guitar when she was young. So when I was about 11 years old, I found an old guitar she had in her closet. I was a very nosy kid. And I'm still nosy. But it's just too good. It's too good. Like we watched Real Housewives for like 2 hours last night. I'm just nosy. I want to know. I want to know all of it. So anyways, yeah, I found this guitar and I kind of stole it and took it up to my room and taught myself to play. The first song I taught myself to play, I didn't know any chords, was this song by Enrique Iglesias called Hero.
Wow.
I don't know if you know it. It is a true gem of the early 2000s pop scene. Anyways, she caught me playing one day and was like, hey, do you want me to like teach you some chords? And I was like, yeah, that's chill. So I was 11 years old. She started teaching me some chords. I took a few lessons and I just picked it up really quickly. And it was like kind of right off the bat for me. I was like, I can write songs. Like I was just a really emotional kid, had a lot of feelings, super sensitive person. And so I just started writing immediately. I was just like, great, that's what this is for. I can play, I can sing, and I have to let this shit out. So so that was really cool. And that was about when I was like 11 or 12 years old. And so like I mentioned earlier, a few years later, my family moved to Orlando, Florida, which, it's Disney World, whatever, but there actually was a cool little music scene there for like definitely more than the middle of nowhere, Louisiana.
Yeah.
So when I got there, I was 15 years old and made some friends with some dudes at my school who were in a band, and they were like, yeah, you should come like open up for us. I just was like a girl with a guitar, like basically like Taylor Swift vibes, like 2005. And I was like, oh yeah, totally. So I started opening up some shows. I made like, a CD when people were still making CDs. And yeah, I was writing everything and it was a lot of fun, and I think, people ask me, it's a common question, like, oh, when did you decide to start pursuing music as a career? And, I don't really know if there was ever a point I decided that, because I was just a kid and it was fun to me and I started making money off of it. That was basically like my high school job, was like I would play gigs and get paid and sell, 20, 25 CDs at every one of my shows, and it just kind of started that way. So I guess that's, go ahead.
Sorry. Did you think that was gonna be your profession? You were gonna sing for like later on, or was it just in the moment? You're with your friends, you had this gig.
It was certainly a dream, that's for sure. Like I would definitely like daydream about like playing on big stages and people knowing who I was and like all the stuff, when I was that age. And it's weird because like I feel like when you're, I don't know, I just never really had this thought of like, I can't do that, that'll never happen. For me, it was just kind of like, it was almost like I wasn't old enough to be overthinking it yet. And I feel like when you're young, that's kind of how it is. It's like if something sounds cool to you, you just do it, you know?
For sure.
And you're not thinking about like, oh, are people going to think that I'm like, some delusional person trying to pursue this like career in music. Like you don't think that way when you're young. You're just like, oh, this is rad. I got a guitar. I know how to play it. And so I think for me, like really, maybe more honestly to answer your question is I didn't really have some kind of plan to make it happen. I thought it would be really cool. And the longer I did it, the more I realized that I was like getting a lot of really good feedback and like people were coming to me, just even in a small, like a city like Orlando, like there were enough people who owned studios and had some management companies and stuff that I started having people like even as a teenager be like, hey, like, would you be interested in doing this or that? And I think with that affirmation, I kind of was like, oh shit, like I could do this maybe. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, totally. What kind of singer would you define yourself as? Like, what's your style? What music do you create?
Oh God. Well, that's been the challenge of my career is finding an answer to that question. And I think I'm kind of learning to let go of
Mhm.
needing to have a categorization in general. For me, like, I feel like the songs have always been the most important thing to me. Like, what are the songs saying? And mostly, like, what am I giving to people when I write? Because, it's like I can go sit in my room and write for hours about how I'm feeling at a really personal level. And that's very therapeutic for me. And it feels really great. But I'm not writing those songs to try to help other people who might be feeling that way. Like, there's a certain way that I try to write that is the honest truth of my experience, but it also is relatable to, when some things are so
Yeah,
specific, you can't really relate to it anymore. It's so specific
of
to
course.
someone else's experience. So I try to like, find the middle ground between like, what is like the honest to God truth that I'm like feeling right now that I think other people might feel this way and like really would benefit from like hearing someone just say it, like this is
Thank
how
you.
it is. Yeah, whether that's like hard stuff or just like fucking like joy and like
Mhm.
happiness. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
so much of the music I listen to is I'm like, yo, I need a good ass vibe. Let's go. And like
I give you
that
the
shit has so
mood.
much value. Yeah, it's not just that like sad, serious music has like value for that kind of stuff. Like we
Sure.
feel all kinds of ways and music is just like the channel. So anyways, to answer your question, I guess, to attempt at answering your question, I like to sing however the song needs to be sung in order for us to all get on the vibe. Yeah, just during COVID, I'm just trying to like really record songs in a way that I'm just like, if when I'm sitting at home in front of my fucking Alexa or whatever and like play some shit, like I want to be able to feel it and I want everybody else to be able to feel it too. So it's
Definitely.
been a fun new challenge to sing, find different ways to sing to really communicate
For
the
sure.
emotion, knowing that I'm not going to get to do this live anytime soon. So
Yeah.
how do I like get it out there how it needs to be now,
Yeah. I feel
So
like I feel like whenever I'm trying to search for a new song or listen to my favorite artist, I'm always trying to find like different moods and whatever vibe I'm in. I'm always trying to find like that perfect song. So it's great that you appeal to different like genres and styles.
yeah,
So I feel like
yeah.
sometimes it's hard to find in an artist. So
Yeah, yeah, and I felt so insecure about that and just drove myself nuts over it for a while because I was like, what's my vibe? Like I have to have a vibe.
mhm,
And that was like impossible for me to do because I'm just like, I just want to express however I'm feeling and to do that with like honesty, and connect. And so I'm really appreciative of new artists that are coming out now. I've been doing this for a while and it's been hard for me. Like, I remember when I first started out, I moved up to Nashville in, God, fuck, 2013. And I remember when I first started out, well, there was like literally no music like I was doing there. So that was an interesting thing trying to like explain to people. I had so many people be like, I love what you're doing. I can't sign a deal with you because we don't do whatever you're doing, but I love it. Like, how can I help? But anyways, just for me, like people asking questions of like, oh, so what's the vibe? Like, what's the brand? And I was just like, I don't know the answer to that question, you
Yeah.
know? So there's like new artists now, like Billie Eilish, of course, is a really great example that everybody knows of. If you're like, what's her sound? You kind of be like, I don't know. It's just
Yeah,
kind of just, it's cool. It's weird. I don't know. It just is what it is. So I'm really grateful for other people for kind of paving the way, because now I'm like, all right, I've been doing this for a while and now it's like acceptable within the industry. So like, let's go, you know?
I think that makes you special also, like that special quality, being able to just sing different songs. And of course, everyone's going to have their own music taste. So you appeal to everyone. And
Yeah.
that's really cool.
Yeah. Thanks for saying that.
So what's been one of your favorite songs or albums you've created? And what was that process like?
Mm, good question.
Hard question.
Um, well, the first one that comes to mind is the song that I put out, I think it was 2018, a couple years ago, called Minimum Wage, which I don't know if you've heard it. But that was rad because I mean the whole process, there's just certain times you sit down. So I like write everything and I like co-produce at least on everything. Some stuff I do, all the production. And then of course I like perform on it. So this one was a really fun one because it was just like literally from the moment that I sat down with my two co-writers, I was writing with them a lot of the time. We sat down together to write it, and it was like literally from the moment we got there, the idea just like was already ready. And it was just, and sometimes that happens where like a concept is just like, it's like a ripe fucking peach on a tree just waiting. All you have to do is just, have you ever picked a piece of fruit that's just like
Yeah.
ready, like you touch it and it just falls off? And that's
Yeah.
exactly how it feels sometimes with
Wow.
songs. And it's just such a magical experience because you just feel like the universe was just like, this is for you, enjoy the ride.
What happened?
And yeah, and we grabbed that song and wrote it that day, and it went through a few different arrangements. I'd actually signed my first and only label deal, which is I'm not in anymore, but it was a really fun ride. I signed it a little bit before that song was written, like a few months before. And we had a bunch of other songs we were looking at for releasing and kind of planning it all out. And then this song came, and everybody at the label, and myself included, were just like, this is it. This is going to the top. We're putting this out first. It was so fun. Like everybody was just on board. The song, again, was just ripe, ready to go. And then, yeah, we shot a video for it. They gave me a really generous budget, and it was so fucking fun. I got there at 6 a.m. to film it and smoked a huge joint as soon as I got there on an empty stomach, which was the best, worst idea I've ever had, because I was just, I don't know if I've ever been that high, but it was the funnest day. And if you've seen the video, it's very intense energy. So I definitely needed something to kind of like get me there. But man, I just have so many awesome memories around that song, like the creation of that song, it coming into the world, and then of course sharing it. And it went to God, it was just such a little dream song. It went to, I think, #1 on the Spotify US viral chart, which is
Wow.
just like organic shares. So people were like listening to it and like,
That
yo,
must
like
have
you
been the
gotta
best
listen.
feeling, seeing that.
It was crazy. It was crazy. So yeah, I just have so many warm memories around that song. And you know, that's what it's about to me, is like, you know, whatever kind of success you have, you're always going to be wondering if you could have done better, if you could get more. And I think really like having a career that feels good to you is about celebrating things and like really finding, like remembering, like don't look over stuff and just be like, oh yeah, that was chill, that was chill. It's like, no, dude, like savor the moment and like think back on it, remember it, and like be proud of yourself, be grateful for like how everything went down, you know, because there's so much luck involved in this stuff too. So anyways, yeah, that song was so special to me and
Really
still
cool.
is very much.
Has your artistic process transformed or changed over time? So with your new single, Champagne Supernova, how is that process compared
Mm,
to 2018 release?
yeah, another good question. Yeah, so this year obviously has been strange. Um,
Very.
and I think, this should all hit in like March or whatever. Where do you live?
Right now, I'm from Los Angeles, but I'm in the Bay
Okay.
Area right now, so I'm in Berkeley right
Okay, cool. Okay, cool. I was just curious. It's just, I mean, different across the country, people are having set like you were dealing with the fires. That's something that so many people on the East Coast didn't have to deal with, but
now.
people in New York had to deal with a COVID wave unlike anything that any of us, I mean, so anyways, I like to just like know where you're at because
So,
our experiences are so different right now, depending on where we are.
especially Los
Um,
Angeles from the Bay Area, it was also
yeah.
an experience coming back here for school. So
When did you go back there?
I got here, I think, around 2 months ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I was actually studying in Barcelona, then got sent back early, so stayed in Los
Oh,
Angeles
wow.
longer. And then I got to
Okay.
Berkeley for school around 2 months ago. So it's been a wild ride.
Wow. Wow. Do you feel like coming back from Barcelona, I'm sure that was like earlier than you were expecting. Like
Definitely was.
how do you feel like you kind of had to like grieve that, like this opportunity that you'd been looking forward to and it was just like cut short and like ended? Like,
The whole country, all over, everyone is dealing with this situation
yeah.
surrounding COVID-19. So I know we're kind of all in it together, but it was definitely pretty sad. So
Yeah. Well,
lost.
I'm really sorry to hear that. And I know what you're saying. It's everybody's dealing with stuff right now, but it definitely still is important to like grieve your losses, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't cancel them out just because we're all going through stuff. Like,
For
and
sure.
I'm really sorry to hear that. I'm sure you worked really hard and spent a lot of time on like, trying to get over there and like I'm not gonna lie to you, I think, since the last couple of years since 2018, since the success of minimum wage, and then I had another song that year, actually it was a couple months before that that was featured on the iPhone when the iPhone 10 launched. It was like one of their first like international ad campaigns. I had a song that I collaborated on with a friend of mine that was used in that, and like my vocal was very prominent in it. It was like a crazy spot, so that was a dope year for me, like the beginning of that year. And I don't know how much you know about kind of my story, but the year before that, about 6 months before that, I have a younger brother who was murdered in the summer of 2017. It was just a random thing. He had he was just helping somebody out who he didn't realize had some pretty intense um, drug history, and just his mind wasn't really the way the rest of ours are.
Yeah. So sorry.
So that, yeah, thank you for saying that. It's, what do you say? So
Yeah.
that happened in 2017, and that was right around the time I had signed a label deal. And then the beginning of 2018, well, after, my brother was killed for those 6 months, so the rest of 2017, I really was like out of commission and really wasn't sure if I was going to be able to pursue this anymore just because of all the emotional energy it takes. And
Of course.
I kind of was in the mindset where I was like, if I lose this momentum, I'm never going to be able to get it back again. I was really scared, and so early 2018, I had some really awesome success. I was super excited on building on it. And then a couple months after that, my label that I had signed to, they were a country label primarily, and they had signed a few pop artists or when they signed me. And then that spring, a few months after minimum wage did really well, they decided they were going to cut all the pop artists because they weren't ready to invest all the resources that they needed to, I guess, in that side of their roster. So that ended. It was very amicable. They were super generous, gave me back all my masters and didn't make me pay for them. It was really great, but definitely a blow to me as far as like, okay, so now I have to find a new label, and I was still just in the very beginnings of grief, So it was a really rough time, and I'm going to be honest with you, like the time between that and the beginning of this year has been a lot of back and forth for me of like, how do I do this?
Of course.
So
Sense.
the beginning of this year when I put out Champagne Supernova and I put out a cover of an old the REM song, It's the End of the World as We Know It, that happened right when COVID started. But for me, I did those because I was just like, these are songs that I like loved when I was younger. I don't know what any of us are supposed to do right now. And I just want to like make something that feels good and that reminds me of being a kid and um, can just be like calm and something to just kind of wash over me during this time. And I was like, maybe if I'm into that, other people will be too, you know?
Mhm.
So those were more for me and anybody else who wanted to come along for the ride. So yeah, I feel like those songs, again, like kind of how I mentioned earlier, it's like it's just about what is the feeling, like what am I trying to offer to people and how can I communicate that through my production and through my vocal performance. And certainly I didn't write those songs, you know, so I still wanted to communicate through the other methods that I could. Um, so yeah, that's changed for me, you know, throughout
Yeah, of
this
course.
time. I feel like so I was a history major. I went to my undergrad. I got a history degree, and that's something that's like I'm very I'm interested in politics. I'm interested in like philosophy, human behavior and psychology,
Yeah.
and some kind of intersection of all of those things. Um, I I feel like I have kind of an ability to zoom out really wide on stuff and to kind of see like, okay, none of this is as simple as any one group wants to
Yeah.
say that it is. This is really complex, and um, I think over the time of the last year in 2020, I've really been thinking about how can I bring my perspective, that wide perspective, that's just kind of like, let's just all chill out. Let's examine the situation before we fucking immolate everything, you
Yeah.
know, destroy everything. Let's like zoom out, like check on where we're at. What paths do we have? It's just like, I just feel like there's so little of that happening. And the people that are doing it, I'm so grateful to them. And I think that they are leaders in the true sense of the word. And I've just kind of had this transformation during this time that I'm like, listen, I've complained about stuff for a long time. I've felt really mad, but like, I want to be a leader now. I want to figure out like what, yes, I want whatever kind of change that I'm wanting to see, the direction I want to see in the world. Nobody's going I can't wait for somebody else to do that for us. I have to do it.
Mhm.
And of course, there's other people bringing their perspectives to the table as well. And that's great. Bring your ideas. But like, I'm not going to wait around for somebody to bring my perspective to the table. I'm just going to do it, you know? So that's really beginning to take shape. I have a couple of singles that I'm getting ready to release, hopefully at the end of this year. If I have more, I would love some more team members, and that's what I'm working on right now. And if that happens, then of course we'll have to have a little more time to um, kind of amend the strategy, right?
Yeah.
But I'm very excited, and those I feel like this is a new era of my music and my career because I'm not just trying to like put out music and get streams. I'm not thinking to myself, how can I make this work? I'm thinking to myself, what do I have to offer to the world and how can I do that through my music? And
That.
I don't know what money's going to look like. It's been fine. I don't know why it would just tank off into the earth. You know what I mean? Like, but I can't worry about that because like, especially in a time like this, I'm like, there's so much to do. There's so much change to be created. And, um, I want to like commit myself to that, you know?
That.
So yeah, man, it's been a really crazy year, but also like really magical, like a lot of deep digging and reflection. And I'm really thankful for all of this in a very strange way, you know?
You've made such a traumatic event in your life into a growing experience, and the fact that you were still able to bounce back and just reflect is just wow. That's props to you and for creating that music. I feel like when I was listening to it, just so much hearing your story now, there's so much emotion with that, and
Yeah.
wow, that's super intense.
Yeah,
Thank
it is. And I forget that sometimes.
you.
I forget that, you know, but I think all of us, I think, you know, the difference is experiencing that kind of loss and that kind of tragedy early in life. I was 27 when it happened, when I lost him, when we lost him. Um, I think everybody experiences shit like this in life at some point, but it's just typically like you're a little bit older maybe and like have
Yeah.
just like seen some shit. And, you know, I have a younger sister too, she's 25 now, so she was 22 when he died, you know, and I'm like, I think about that for her. I'm like, you imagine it when I was 22 years old, like losing a little brother in that way and experiencing that. It kind of gives you an opportunity early in life to be like, okay, what the fuck am I doing here?
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, it is intense. And I guess I want to be here. I want to be able to be here for other people experiencing that question of like, what the fuck am I doing here? You know?
Yeah. Sure.
And I think especially right now, a lot more people are asking that because everything's so uncertain.
I think these tough times, I think everyone's questioning their next move and
Yeah.
everyone's kind of reaching for inspiration on what to do next and what to do, of course, given the situation. So
Yeah.
great that you're on that path and you can give others inspiration as you've been doing, and that's so great,
Yeah.
especially with your story. So thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for listening and thanks for asking.
On to my next question. Has there been a
Mhm.
specific artist or anything specific that has inspired you to make music or kind of
Mm.
geared you into a certain direction?
Yeah, it's been different people at different times. I think in the past I've been like my perspective has changed so much in the last year on like what I do. I'm sure we'll get into it more in this conversation, but it's changed a lot. Like for me, I think in the past there's been, you know, people who I'm like, oh, that's super cool. I want to do something like that, you know, because it's just been more about like looking cool and like having the attention
Yeah.
and like doing the thing. And attention's great, dude. There's nothing wrong with wanting attention. Like I love attention, like for sure. And I'm not embarrassed about it. It's a very natural thing. I
Yeah.
think the question that a lot of us don't ask ourselves is like, what am I willing to do for attention? Am I willing to betray deeper values for attention? You know? So I do try to ask myself that, not too often though, because then life gets a little stressful and boring. But no, I guess for me right now, I'm kind of more interested in like I said earlier, like not necessarily what can I do to like come off a certain way, but like what can I offer? Like what do I have to give? And I would say some artists you might be able to think of after I'm going to say this first one, and then I want to know if you can think of any other ones because
Okay.
I'm going to tell you this first one. I'm going to tell you why, and then I want to see if
Okay.
you
I'm
have any
excited
other
to
ideas.
hear.
Okay, the first one that comes to mind in a huge way is Lady Gaga,
Okay.
and the reason why is it is very apparent to me her entire career is about making people feel okay with themselves.
Mhm.
That is, and there is no doubt in my mind that that's been the intention. She's not just out like wearing crazy shit and like, oh, as a byproduct, people feel good about themselves and feel more confident about themselves.
Yeah.
Like that's her intention from the get go. That's baked into everything.
Mhm.
Which she's like, I'm a leader. I am someone who can accept myself
I
in
think
my highs and my lows. And I want you to be able to do that as well. And I'm going to be a leader. And so somebody like that is really inspiring to me right now because I see her career as a result of her asking herself, what problem can I solve? How
yeah,
can I help? You know?
for sure.
So I don't know if you have any other artists that you can
I
think
have an
of.
artist,
Oh, hit me with it. Go.
Miley Cyrus, 1,000% in my
Okay.
opinion.
Tell me why.
So I truly, and I've thought about this for actually a while, I definitely think
Okay.
Miley Cyrus stays true to herself 24/7. She doesn't care what anyone else thinks. She doesn't care what anyone else is doing. She makes her decisions based off what she wants to do. I
Mm.
listened to podcasts, I listened to talks she's had. I've just learned all I can about Miley Cyrus because I love her. And
Yeah.
I've heard her stories. I've seen the decisions she's made through online presence and the conversations she's had with people. And she's never taken shit from anyone. And she's staying true to herself always with her
Yeah.
music image, her decisions, personal, personal things that she's shared to everyone, and especially the emotion that she puts in her music and the lyrics
Yeah.
and the meaning behind it. And I love her as an artist and her personality.
Yeah, yeah, that speaks to you, that her message of what would you say the message is with, like, that she's trying to give to people like you? What's the message?
No matter what race, ethnicity, gender you are, everyone's important and you can still make a change in the world, and
Mm,
no one should everyone should accept you regardless, and that doesn't make you less worth it than someone else who fits the norm.
I love me some Wrecking Ball, and, I
Yeah,
actually love some of her new stuff too, like that Malibu song I really love. But
love
yeah, that's really
Nice
cool, and it
Guy.
makes me I feel like I wanna go listen back now with, keeping in mind what
Yeah.
you just shared and kinda see what I can pull out of it.
So she actually, I think she was on a podcast and she was talking about the song and the meaning behind it, and um that was that was really showing, I think, her history of like her personal experiences to now.
Yeah,
So I think that was connecting to her current situation, everything happening in her life. Won't get too much
right.
into that, but
Yeah,
I think that was a true meaning to her new song.
yeah,
So it was
that's cool.
personal. So
All right. Well, I mean, I did tell you that I'm a nosy person, so I have to go listen after this.
you have to listen. Tell me how you
I
feel.
really have to listen now. That's so funny.
Really good. Yeah. So
Yeah, but I really love artists that are about something like bigger than themselves, you know. Attention, however you'd like to get your attention,
okay.
that's fine with me. I'm just saying that I definitely have a soft spot for people in the entertainment industry who get their attention needs met elsewhere and then come to their position in entertainment as somebody who's going to lead people. Yeah, I just think that's the kind of stuff right now that gets me lit up, and I'm like, you have a huge platform. You fight and you earn the platform that you have, and then you say, I'm not going to use this just to like get off. I'm going to use this to like make the world a better place. You know what I mean? And that to me, I'm just like peak capitalism.
Definitely.
Peak capitalism.
That is what draws me to want to listen to artists even more, is
Yeah.
the character, and they're not trying to be someone they're not just to get fame or to be in the industry or to
Yeah.
only make music to appeal to one like specific group in the world. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
definitely
and it's great. I mean, I listen to literally so much music that's just like a vibe band. Like, I don't know what they believe, and I don't really care because I just like the vibe. And like, that's fine. There's a place for that. I'm just saying that like it inspires me
mhm.
to see that position being leveraged in, you know, a selfless way, if, or whatever. Like, you know what I'm
100% agree.
saying?
100% agreed with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm super curious. Have you ever performed in person? Have you ever had any prior to COVID-19? Have you performed in person, or are
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
at any upcoming virtual shows?
I have performed before. I live in Arizona now. I moved to the desert just to clear my head and, you know, figure out what the fuck I'm doing.
Next.
And it's been really great. I love the desert. I would highly recommend it if anybody needs a refresh in life. Move to the desert for a year or so. But anyways, when I lived in Nashville, I would play out a lot. I would kind of just like um like I had a lot of collaborations with friends in town, and when they would play shows, I would just hop up and do a couple songs with them. So I would do stuff like that, and that was always super fun because, I love walking on stage acting like I got nowhere else to be, whatever. And that's something you could do when you're just like strolling up to do a couple songs. So that's really fun. And then also I would do I've done like some DJ sets, which has been really fun, which is like basically I'll like, a typical DJ set, but I'll throw in some kind of like I'll remix my own songs and like put them in the set or whatever. And then um and then I've done a couple other different sets where I've played stuff more stripped, like guitars, drums, like bass. So shows have been kind of all over the board for me. I kind of just like to figure out what's the vibe of the show and like who's going to be there and then how do I, you know, and then I like when I was super young, when I was in college and I was still doing just like singer songwriter, just guitar stuff, I
Yeah.
would go tour. I would like book little tours for myself. I don't know, like 10, 15 shows, stuff like that. But that's been a while ago. And we'll see what happens after all this. I mean, I'm really excited to. I mean, fuck. I hope there's shit around. You know what I mean? Like, I think we're all kind of holding our breath about what the venue situation's going to be after this. But
Yeah.
personally, dude, especially with the music that I'm writing right now, like, and just in general, I think after all this, once people feel safe being out again, shows are going to be so fucking lit, dude.
It's
People are
gonna
going to
be
be
so
so
intense. I'm
hyped.
excited.
And I'm like, dude, I gotta get in the middle of that. I gotta go to shows.
Yeah.
I gotta go do some shows and play these crazy ass songs. Yeah, man. I don't have any virtual shows. I haven't really gotten into that.
Yeah.
I don't really know why. I guess because I don't know. I don't know how to like. Have you seen any virtual shows that you've really liked?
Yes. So right when
Tell me about them.
okay. So
What
right
should I do? Give me advice.
okay. So right when first, a lot of people want to hear want to see and hear virtual shows. Like I find me
Okay.
online looking for upcoming virtual shows. So I think you should definitely do that. Um,
Okay, okay, okay.
when I got back from Barcelona, the first virtual show I believe I watched was Griffin because
Oh yeah.
and that was crazy. And I honestly think that having a pre-recorded show and then or a live show and just post that, a lot
Mm,
of people are gonna want to watch that, especially during these
yeah.
times. So
Yeah.
yeah, we
Well,
can
cool,
definitely chat
dude.
more about
Maybe, you know, I like that. I'll think more about it. Yeah, I'm not like
convincing you.
opposed to it. I think I've just honestly been like, does anybody want to do that? Or like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And also maybe I've just been like existentially stressed out over like the fucking end of the world but I feel like I have some headspace now that I could pull some stuff off for sure. It would definitely be fun to like figure out how to do it, because I feel like it's different for everybody.
If you could open up a show for any artist, who would you be like,
Ooh.
this artist 100%?
Oh my God. I haven't really thought about this. Um,
Hard question.
well, because I'm thinking about like, okay, here are the benefits. If I'm opening up, that means that like I'm probably like traveling for them. I get to like stand side stage and like, so I'm trying to think of like who has like the craziest show that I would want to know how everything works.
Yeah.
Or do I want to judge it by like who's in the crowd and like I want to have a good ass time with a particular artist's
Mhm.
crowd? I feel like that's kind of more of my go-to.
Yeah.
Who has a crazy ass crowd? I feel like the young blood crowd would be pretty fucking crazy. It might be kind of fun to just like go ape with a little bit.
That would be fun.
Um I don't know, man. Also though, I just want to play for like a hype crowd, dude.
Yeah.
And if you have to get the crowd hype, that's hard. But if you're there with somebody who's like, everybody's like, I mean, maybe Gaga, dude. Maybe Gaga. I think it's Gaga.
That's a good. option.
I think it's Gaga.
If you didn't pursue a singing career, what other profession would you choose? If it could be anything.
I think I would become a life coach.
I can kind of gauge that. I feel like you're very inspirational. You would give such good advice.
I just like thanks for saying that. Yeah, I just I like to support other people and their dreams and their goals. Like and I kind of do that already. I mean, I wouldn't call it life coaching, but I have a couple like I have a younger sister, she's an oil painter. Like she went to school for it and
Oh,
she
cool.
just kind of started doing I mean, she's been painting for a while, but this year she lost her job from COVID and she decided to start offering like commission pieces or whatever.
Mhm.
So I've kind of like helped her like launch that and like build kind of like a social presence, which is weirdly easier to do for someone else than it is to do for yourself. And just kind of like, figure out pricing and like a method and stuff like that. And then I have like a couple other friends who are kind of starting up side businesses this year. And I've basically just been like, how can I support you? Like kind of vision strategy stuff. And I mean, I'm not getting paid anything. It's like the reason I love it is just because they have this dream of like, I really love doing this. I love creating this art. And if I could make some money off of that, like that would be awesome. And I'm just like, hell yeah, I want to help you. Like,
Yeah.
I want you to like have your dream. If I can help do it, then like, okay, you know? So I think that would be, if I wasn't doing music, that I would like find a way to do that full time for sure. It's so fun. I love it.
That's super cool. I feel like I always find myself being like a like kind of a life coach also,
Yeah.
like giving advice to people.
Like you feel like people, yeah, my partner has this thing where she's like, when I meet people, it's like within 5 minutes, she's like, I feel like I'm hearing things from them that like no one else has heard. And she's like, I don't know how that happens. And I'm like, you just have a vibe. I mean, and she is a therapist, so I feel like, but I think it's a gift some people have, and you probably have it too. Oh, the internal dialogue is crippling, isn't it?
It is. Well, to wrap up, don't want to take too much
Yeah.
of your time, but got one last important question for you.
Okay.
Like I said, of course, life has been so unpredictable with COVID-19, but as of
Mm.
now, what do you believe is next for you on your journey, as well as like what do you see for yourself down the line? And this could
Mm.
be an open-ended question. You can answer it however you want.
Yeah, this is my favorite kind of question.
Great.
Um, it's a feeling question. It's like life's hard right now. What do you think about it? How do you feel about it? Where are you going? Um, well, I kind of hit on this earlier, I think, a little bit, when I was just saying that like, I'm not really asking myself anymore, how do I make this work?
Mhm.
Like, okay, I make music, so how can I make money off of making music? Like, I'm just the world just feels too crazy to be asking small questions like that. So for me, where I'm going moving forward is figuring out what I can give, and specifically for me right now, I feel I've been doing a lot of internal work, having a lot of conversations that are uncomfortable with people who believe very different things than I do. I've been doing all this stuff intentionally because I want to understand how to um, disagree with someone and listen, and to also be able to express what I think in a way that is kind. I want more exchange of ideas and of feelings. I want people to feel safer with each other and to not feel so afraid of each other. That's what I want to see happen in the world. And so everything that I'm doing right now is through the lens of like I wake up in the morning and I'm like, how can I help people feel safer with each other today? And
Yeah.
then I go backwards and narrow that down into the task list, and that might look like, okay, well, I need to finish this song because this song has that message in it and I'm ready to put that out. Or I need to figure out what I need to do visually for that song to communicate my message, to really get the attention of the people whose attention I'm trying to get, the people who are ready to hear that. There's so many people who feel this way, who are just like, I know that other people are batshit, and I know that I can be a little batshit sometimes, but like, can we not just talk and like figure it out? I think so many people feel this way, and the answer is yes, of course we can all talk, but it takes a lot of skills, and it takes a lot of learning to learn how to do that. It's hard work, and I'm trying to figure out, obviously I can't teach all those lessons, like in songs. Maybe I can, I don't know, I guess we'll find out. But what I'm trying to do is just to voice and say what I want somebody else to say, which is, yo, fucking pause. There's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way than just beating each other over the heads. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So anyways, everything for me moving forward is just about that, of like, how can I be that person? How can I be a voice of peace and understanding? How can I help create more understanding between people in the world?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of turning into a whole rebrand, and like everything is around this, because like this is the message, and I'm excited. I want to host, as I grow my numbers on my platform, I want to host some like nonviolent communication like trainers, and like have them do kind of mini things that are like just done in very kind of like memed ways, or like real stuff that are very transferable, easy ways to like digest this information. Because all of this stuff about how to communicate, it's an entire academic area, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
people talk about how to communicate, it's just that all that stuff is, most people aren't going to sit down and like read books about that, you know what I mean? And so I'm just trying to find ways of like, how can we take the major points and put that out there for people who are ready for that, and show them that there's more that they can learn, and there is something they can do. They can learn to understand and communicate better. So anyways, that's my vibe right now.
No, exactly. I feel like I want to hear it. I feel like for me, that's something that personally for me is what I would want to do. I want to hear experience. I want to get a vibe from like listening to music. And I feel like it's so awesome that you have that mindset and you have those goals. And I'm really looking forward to just seeing what's next for you. I'll be following your journey. So I'm really excited.
Thank you so much for reaching out and wanting to chat. I
For
love talking about this stuff, and thanks for sharing your ideas. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for joining me on this Zoom call.
Thank you. I appreciate it.